guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Angular series. Angular TypeScript, the SPA front-end framework. This is what we'll be looking at. This is the cup of code that we'll be dealing with, and hopefully you can see some for your daily projects. And let's get right into it and see what we're gonna go through in building a new Angular application. So first, we're going to start with setting up the development environment, and to do that, we're going to need a couple of installations on our workspace or our workstations, and that will be the first one we Node.js, which will be where we'll pull in a lot of our libraries and dependencies for our Angular based project, and this is where we'll be able to scaffold a lot of the features and functionalities and use them in our different components and to serve our application with some cool features. And you're going to see how we'll use Node.js and how it's going to come in handy in the entire development process. And to do that, you just need to go to AngularJS download page, which that will be on this URL nodejs.org. Then you pass in the language, and then you pass in the downloads, and then you would essentially end up on this page. You can choose which package that you want depending on the operating system that you're on, and you can also go to the current and you'll be able to get the latest build and install according to that. And then once this has been installed on your machine and it has been set up, you can essentially then go and check out the node DHV, which is the node version that you're currently on, and also the npm version that you're on. So we're going to check these out on the terminal just now. Let's do that quickly. See which version am I on. Node DHV, that's version 12 on my side, and cool because there's already a latest one I would essentially need to update, and on my next episode we'll be running on the latest one. I'll do all the updates, and then you can see the new developments that have been added there, and we can use those for our benefit. Let's also check the npm versions whilst we're here. We are on 16.14.6, so that's still good enough for the start of our project. And let's see, one other thing that we would need to check, once node is installed and npm is installed, you should be able to run these commands and see that. And then going further into our development, the next thing will be the Angular CLI, and that is simply npm install -g, which is global. So when I install Angular CLI globally, so that we can be able to run this anywhere from our workstation. So that will be the benefits. And then we can check ng, because I already have Angular CLI in my machine. I'll just say ng version, which is also going to give me the npm version and node version. You'll see now in the terminal. Let's just run that ng -3, so let's double -v this version, and then let's see that Angular CLI 12.0, and it gives me the node and the package manager, which is npm, we just saw now. And when I get to update this, you'll see those updates reflect there. And then I also have the dev kit, and we have the architect, we have the core, we have the schematics, and we have the Angular. So this will essentially allow us to sort of scaffold a lot of the features that we can use on our Angular application, the components that we would want to see, the services, directives, and intercept guard, auth guards, which will be the cool stuff that we'll be diving into later on in this series. But yeah, let's start working on our Angular application. Also, just to add on Angular CLI, you can also go to Angular CLI overview, angular.io for the CLI, and then we'll take you through sorry about that. So it will take you through some of the added benefits and more detail as to the different features that you can have. ng help, which will give you much more detail in the different directives that you want to implement and see how it behaves. So yeah, let's just get right into it, guys. Start building our Angular application. Essentially, you come back to the terminal, and I would want to create my project in documents project zip code, and I want to be in zip code studio. And then there's nothing fancy creating a new project, it's just ng new. Then the app name, which will be hello Angular. So let's see that. And it's gonna ask us if we want routing. We do want that because we want our endpoints to have routes. And then it's gonna ask us about the style that we want to use, and we can choose any of these. But for the purposes of this series, we're gonna use the CSS because from beginners level, when be exposed to that, we'll deal with all these fancy ones later on. But for now, we can just be cool with the CSS, and then let's see as it scaffolds all the components for us. And you have an angular.json, which is the Angular configs, and then you have the package.json, which sort of has the dependencies and what version they're running on, and all of those. You'll see that being scaffolded for us, and then it's all it's essentially installing the packages, and it has already created the root module, which is the app module. So every Angular application will have a route module, which is the app module, and you will see when you're routing, the root module is what you would want to point your children parts if you want them to be saved at root level, or you want the root to be for child, which will then be subroots to a particular module. But you'll get into more details later on, and you'll see that in action, which is the cool stuff. Still installing, should have been done by now. Let's see, it's pulling some of the packages for us. All right, cool. Now we're up and running, and we want to cd into hello Angular, and then we want to open this in VS Code. All right, so let's see how that looks. And we have our project. Voila, welcome to Angular. So let's see how that looks, and we're gonna go to, as I mentioned, the angular.json, which has the Angular configurations, new project roles, project version, version 1, and we'll have the project configs here, which is your hello Angular, which is what we are running. Project type, it is an application, and route, there's nothing there. So route is src, prefix is app, which is where our source files will be located. And you essentially want to see what is in there. So at source and at app, and that's where it has scaffolded the route module, and this is where you always find it for an Angular application. So if you go in to check the app module, which is the root module, and it has an app component. That app component is app component.ts, which has nothing fancy. Sorry about that, guys. So it has nothing but the title and nothing else, and then you see it has this sort of syntax that it has import component from Angular core, and the component itself, we have the selector, which is what we will use if you wanted this component to be called in a different component or in a different HTML. We would use the selector to find it, and then the template URL will be the HTML code, which is the front end that you will see being exposed via the browser, and that's where the front end code will sit. And then the styles, which is the custom styles to these particular component. So if I add any CSS in that particular file, this style will only be applied to this component, the app component, and it will only affect this app.component HTML, which for now it's the scaffolded HTML. Let's just run that and see how this looks. We just go to terminal, and then we're gonna open a new terminal, and we're gonna serve our application. So let's run that. It's gonna take a few seconds because this is an init run, so I'm gonna allow it to do that. Once it's doing that, we can check the package.json, which will tell you the app name, hello Angular version 0.0, the scripts, which you can use to start the app, build the app if you want to build production, if you want to watch, if you want to run some tests, and this will be the testing that you want to perform on your application, end-to-end testing and the likes. And then you have the dependencies, Angular animations, common, core, the forms, which is all the router, which is for endpoints, and we have RxJS, which is 6.6. So we have all of these, and then the dev dependencies, CO dev kit, Angular, and Angular CLI, and the compiler, and Jasmine, and all of these. So you can check all of these out, and then the TypeScript, which is that one. So we'll be using TypeScript, so having it there then sort of makes sense for us. And we have the package.log, which also has more into the build that we have. It has the dependencies that we are running, and you'd see if you worked on development houses where they would add their custom libraries also into the package log.json. They would add the integrity, the resolve, and all of these, and you would see how that is implemented. But if you get to submit your libraries over npm, you will be able to use that. So our app is running. Let's see what we have. Boom, voila, welcome to our new hello Angular application that's running, and you can see some of the assistance that they still offer you, which is if you want to generate a component, Angular generate component. If you want to add Angular material to add some of the fancy features when developing your front end, and then you can also add some progressive web app support if you want that as well, which offers a lot of benefits when it comes to your app loading and caching and stuff. So moving on to adding a dependency, you can add any dependency that you want, and you can run and watch tests as you would like. As you're testing your application, you'd also want to use that. It's going to come in handy if you're building your enterprise application. But if you're building a simple small sort of application, you wouldn't need to go all the way implementing everything that is here, but it will come in handy at some point. You will see as we go along in the series, and then you can build for production using ng build, nothing fancy. And then continuing the learning curve, you want to click on some of these links and see the documentation in there. So yeah guys, that's it for this episode, and I hope you are going to subscribe and keep on commenting with some questions if you want. And then on the next episode, we'll be dealing with building new components, diving into the components and seeing how we can customize our application to the way that we want, and we can serve a single page application front-end framework using Angular. Till next time, cheers guys.